Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Boys Podcast. Today, as I'm recording on Holy Thursday, I want to wish everyone a happy Easter this Sunday. I'm joined by President and founder of Onesti Entertainment Corporation in St. Charles. He also produces concerts and festivals around the whole U.S. He writes a weekly column for the Daily Herald called Backstage with Ron Onesti. He's the president of the Joint Civic Committee of Italian Americans. He's the president of the National Italian American Sports Hall of Fame. He's in charge of the Chicago Italian American Charitable Organization. How are you doing today, my paisan, Ron?
I am, I think, and thank you for joining us and have a good day. I think our interview is over right now. It's great to see you, Jay-Z. Great to see you. Very proud of what you're doing, brother. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, Ron. Okay. So now that things are opening up, what are your plans as we begin to go into the reopen phase of this pandemic? Like, what are you mainly focused on right now?
Well, Joe, we had set in motion just before the COVID pandemic came into play a massive renovation plan for most of my properties, and thankfully we had those dollars already put somewhere and the plan in place and the wheel turning, so that kept on going. So we've been renovating, upgrading all through this, and we're just about near completion. So from a timing standpoint, again, COVID and everything is horrible, horrible, horrible. But on the other side of that coin, the timing was pretty good for us because we're just coming out of it now, and we're getting ready to open up. Looks like we're going to open up some of my restaurants in May, and the theaters probably in July.
Wow, that's good though.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is the Displays Theater, the one that's like up and coming, going to be like the Arcada? Or is it going to be like new or different? Are there going to be like bars or?
Mm-hmm. It's going to be very similar. That's one of the reasons why the city asked me to come in there, because they really like what we accomplished in St. Charles with the Arcada Theater being the Arcada being opened in 1926, their theater being opened in 1925, the same kind of style, the same kind of construction, and they really liked my programming because it was family oriented and it was all retro and really everything from the 20s through the 90s. So it's going to have a lot of similarities. And we'll have a speakeasy just like in St. Charles called Bourbon and Brass on the second floor. We'll have a wood-fired rock and roll pizza experience. In St. Charles, we've got a thing called Rock and Za, but in Des Plaines, we'll have a thing called Des Pizza, as we pay tribute to all the classic Des Plaines icons, like the first McDonald's that Ray Kroc had, and the Sugar Bowl, and just some of the things that were made Des Plaines very special. We're going to pay tribute to that in our pizza place.
I like that. Pay tribute back. I like that a lot.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, any idea what's your main focus? Like, do you have any idea when you're going to try to open everything up?
Yeah, like I said, actually, as of yesterday, we just decided to, in St. Charles at least, open probably 2, if not 3, of the the bars and restaurants on May 7th and May 8th, and then in Des Plaines, probably the restaurants in June, and hopefully in July, both theaters.
Wow. Well, I'll try to make out there.
We're not going to start till you get there, so you better. If you don't show up, a lot of people will be very upset.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. No, that's great to hear. Like, similar we did in our, St. Charles with Arcada. Do you have anything else in the works, like the festivals, such as like the Little Italy Fest? Like, what's going on with those?
Yeah, we just met with the mayor of Addison yesterday. Something that normally happens in July, which is Little Italy Fest West. It looks like we're moving to the weekend of September 11th, which is going to be the 20th anniversary of 9/11. So we're going to do a very special All-American Italian tribute that weekend in Addison. We haven't announced that yet. You're the first one to know this. And then our Oakley, our Father's Day Festival, which is probably would be in its 28th year. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, unfortunately. That's Father's Day weekend, which is always the second weekend or third weekend in June. A little too soon, we think. So we're going to hold off on that this year. And then our granddaddy of them all is our Taylor Street Little Italy Fest, which will have about over 125,000 people, and that's scheduled for August 12th to 15th.
Wow. Yeah, I think I've been. Yeah, I think my family, I've been there like a good amount of times to the Little Italy Fest.
I'm sure everybody has. It's a great way for all of us to come together. We've got a little bit of red, white, and green flowing through our veins.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Now, what's going on like with the Christopher Columbus statues? Like
They're
what's like
down.
going
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
it's a daily situation. I've been recently elected president of the Joint Civic Committee of Italian Americans, as you mentioned on the onset of the show here, which is the Congress of over 60 Italian American groups in the Chicagoland area. And so it's been a mission of mine personally, and with the support of all the organizations in the community, to try and maintain our Columbus Day holiday, to try and bring back the three Columbus statues that were taken down. And of the 41 statues that the city deems problematic, that they're going through some sort of discussion whether they should come down, be repurposed, redone. They're the only three statues that were actually taken down, and those three plus a statue of the that represents the transatlantic flight that Italo Balbo took in 1933. It was a gift from the government of Italy to the government of to the United States government by way of Chicago as a thank you, and it included a 2,000-year-old column from ancient Rome that sits in Grant Park. A lot of people don't even realize that, and technically that makes it the oldest monument in the country. And that's also one that's being threatened to take down. So we got our work cut out for us. As I tell people, it's like pushing a boulder up a mountain, because there are perceptions of Columbus and what he did, what he didn't do, what he represents, what began because of him, what all that stuff. And it's such a complex conversation. And a lot of it is littered with misinformation, downright lies. And we've been putting together a whole plan that just shows an educational program that shows, hey, folks, whatever you thought about Columbus or whatever you're hearing now really isn't true. And here are the facts. And not only here are the facts, but here are the resources where he got the facts: his own diaries, his son's diaries, accounts from his contemporaries that day. We have the resources. So 90% of what is perceived on a negative standpoint, from a negative standpoint about Columbus, is just frankly not true. But it's been something that's been perpetuated since the early 80s. And even so now, like the History Channel, Wikipedia, all these supposed sources of factual information aren't really factual. And that's what's making it very difficult, because people think Columbus started, the whole concept of genocide and slavery and rape and pillaging and all this stuff. And we're like, wait, how? They're giving this guy this so much power that he did all this. And, to say he started slavery in the United States, he never set foot in America. I mean, like I said, I could spend hours on that, and nobody wants to hear that right now. But that's what's happening. It's a big job, and it's a good thing I've got nothing better to do. Because, frankly, all kidding aside, we got a lot going on. I'm about to open up 4 new places, all the things got going on. But this Italian thing is something near and dear to my heart. I've been involved in this organization 40 years, and my community is very important to me, and as is the Zito family. So we got to keep it around, because I'm sure you've got great memories or great stories about your grandparents, about your great-grandparents, how the Zito family came to America. And we feel that these keeping the memories, or keeping the ideals and the teachings and the lessons of our early history, which includes Columbus, generations of traditions. It's a way of honoring your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents that got Joe Zito in front of a computer today to do an interview. This didn't just happen. You could be back in wherever. Where's your family from?
Like my grandparents, great-grandparents?
What part of Italy?
Sicily.
Yeah, so you could still be in Sicily right now. And Sicily was, at that time of your grandparents, Sicily was one of the poorest places in the world. And like I say, you do some of your history with regards to Sicily, and and being Sicilian, you might appreciate this. Not to take up too much of your time here, but we're very involved about it. So March 14th, 1891, there were 9 Sicilians that were charged with the wrongfully accused of a murder of a police chief in New Orleans. This police chief was shot in cold blood, and the New Orleans police could not find a suspect. So the people around them, the citizens, were becoming to get in an uproar. So at the time, the Sicilians came over because, remember, in the late 1800s was just after the Emancipation Proclamation, the freeing of slaves. So what happens? The slaves that were freed, many of them migrated to the north. That's where the Jazz Age came in Chicago. That's how that all stuff. Louis Armstrong came up to Chicago. It was the migration of them in the. Bye, Joe. Happy Easter, Buona Pasqua. Happy Easter. Don't forget. I don't want to see you without a calzone in your hand next time.
Okay.
I don't want to see it.
I'll take.
Two. So anyway, they were when the slaves were freed, someone still had to work the fields and work the jobs they were doing. So they brought in Sicilians by the boatload, and they were dark skinned. They had their hair was a certain way they called kinky hair back then, dark eyes, and they were treated as the African American slaves, the next wave. And so when the police chief was murdered and the docks were full of Sicilians, the mayor just said, round up all the Dagos. That's what he called them, a pejorative term, which is a negative term. But it's all there in black and white. And he said, round up all the Dagos and find a murderer. So they kept them, and they kept berating them and beating them until they finally they charged 9 Sicilian men with this murder. They went to trial and they were acquitted. They weren't even there. So all 9 were acquitted. And the city came up in arms the next day, and over 8,000 local citizens stormed the jail. They beat these 11 Sicilian men, which ultimately they murdered them, they shot them, and they dragged them to the square and they lynched them. It was the largest mass lynching in United States history by vigilantes. And that's what African Americans are starting to understand too, that stereotypes, bigotry, racism affects everybody. And it was so bad that in 1891, Benjamin Harrison, the president at the time, felt so bad about the Italian connection as a way to recognize the contributions Italians have made to the development of the country at that time. And it was the 400th anniversary in 1892 of Columbus's voyage. He determined the first Columbus Day, and that was in 1892, in time for the Columbian Exposition, the World's Fair in Chicago. So we were connected to all of that. And then also 2 years ago, in 2019, the African American female mayor of New Orleans, it was felt so bad about it, she issued an official proclamation of apology to Italians about the atrocities made towards Sicilians in 1891. So there's a lot of our history that's still coming to light. And I held a remembrance at Arrigo Park at the foot of the statue that was taken down, because that statue was also cast in 1891 for the 1892 Columbian Exposition. So there's a lot of connection there. And we had African American, Latin American, Jewish American, Polish American, Croatian American, of course, Italian Americans, all come together. And their leaders, we had the president of Cook County Board, we had aldermen, we had county commissioners, we had state representatives, we had leaders of the community of other organizations, we had Sicilian flags all up. And we remembered that day. We had the story, and every one of the leaders read a couple lines in the story. It was a beautiful way of coming together and communicating and showing that we're all in this together. So that's a little piece of your Sicilian history and a little piece of what your grandparents, what your great grandparents. I'm interested to hear when your Zitos came to America. If it was your grandparents or your great grandparents, but whenever it was, they put up with a lot of crap coming here. Similar to many other ethnic groups. And that's what people are starting to understand. That's one of our goals, to teach people about, hey, we're in this together. And we were in it together a lot more than you think. If you go on the NAACP, you know what the NAACP is, right? The organization. Mm-hmm. If when you go and you look up lynchings, they say that 69 point something percent, let's call it 70% of all lynchings, were African American, which is true, of course. But what does that mean? That means 30% were white, and people don't realize that. So, and many of them were European, because Europeans were not respected. We're at the low end of the totem pole when we got here. So a lot of this stuff is all coming out now, and you hear about the Black Lives Matter, you hear about all these movements, and this is all important. I believe indigenous people have got their story. We believe in that. We believe in everybody, everybody having their pain, everybody having their stories. What I'm trying to do and what we're trying to do is trying to let people know that we as Italian Americans, we have our pain too in history. So we're all going through this together. Wow, I need a breath. I need water. I need the oxygen.
That's
You
good.
got me going there, Jay-Z.
That's good though. Yeah, the fellow Italians. Yeah, respect our Italians. Respect us.
Got to respect who got you here, man. You got to
Yeah.
think about your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents. They got you here, and you know what? If our keep this in mind. If our history gets rewritten, if it gets changed, thank you. If it gets washed away, the memory of your grandparents gets washed away.
Yeah.
And what they did, don't forget your grandparents, I'm sure, great grandparents. I mean, I don't know anything about the Zitos back then, but I can't imagine they were like these big kings and queens full of, multi-billionaires. Maybe they were. But the point here is what I'm thinking, if not them, but their contemporaries came here with little more than a couple lira in their pocket and just the clothes on their back, and all they wanted to do is make a better life for their family. And look, they got a fine young great grandson that's getting ready. He's a journalist. He's got doing his internet thing. He's going to school, and that's what you are, Joe, is what they dreamed about.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you. Now, if you don't mind me asking, since you asked me, what are you Sicilian or what's your?
Oh, I hate Sicilians. You kidding me? No, no, I'm a big fan. No, actually, my mother was born in Florence.
Okay.
And my father's family was from Naples, Neapolitan, which is, we're cousins to Sicilians. So, it's and especially since since St. Joseph's time, because St. Joseph is a Sicilian tradition, and the Sicilians that we learned about in New Orleans. Sicilians are really the main Italian region that really got us to America. And a lot of people don't realize that either, because it was such a poor, underdeveloped area. I mean, in the turn of the century, there was nothing there, plumbing, that kind of thing. That's why they all flocked to America for a better life, just to be able to raise families. And they thought work was in America. They get on all these boats. They see the Statue of Liberty ultimately later on. And but they see the mainland America, and they get here and they're picking cotton and they're cleaning outhouses, and they're at the low end of the workforce. So, but for them, it was a big step up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, believe it or not, I'm a junior, like Joseph Michael, that's my middle name, Joseph Michael Zito Jr. My dad's Joseph Michael Zito Sr.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal. They want you, he's proud of you because he asked you to the Sicilian tradition of you either carrying your father's name or your grandfather's name. So yeah. I got to think that either your grandfather or your great grandfather was Joseph also.
Yes, you got it. Right. And then my brother, he's Michael Joseph Zito.
Yeah.
That's my grandpa's name.
See that? There you go. Then that shows that your family's very tradition driven. Because see, for me, it was different because when my mom, that time when they got here, my dad was a World War II veteran here in the States, born in Chicago, but his parents were from the Naples area, the Campania region, and my mom born in Florence, and they met in World War II. So my mom got here, very classy, beautiful lady, my mom, very educated. And when she got to America in 1958, because he brought her over after World War II, it wasn't cool to be Italian. It was cool to be American. So my mom didn't name me Giuseppe, Joseph, Vito, Antonio, like many of our Italian cousins. I'm Ronald. My brother's Richard. My sister's Victoria. All English names. Because again, it was cool to be English or American back then in the 60s. It wasn't cool to be Italian. Now it's cool to be Italian. It's chic. Giuseppe. You're going to call you Giuseppe for now. Giuseppe Z.
Okay. Now, who is one person that you would love to have perform in your theaters? Like, who's one person you want to have perform?
That's still alive?
Yes. I could do both. One that sadly passed and one that's still alive. Well,
for me, to have Pavarotti perform my theater, he's got a couple of renditions, some songs that just absolutely takes over my being, so that would have been an amazing thing. And there's a few others I can go on, but that's somebody who's passed, who's alive now. A bucket list would be nice, would be like a Tony Bennett would be nice. But we've got things like I've always wanted to have Aerosmith, some of these really big. I only have a 900 seats, so any of those arena acts will be good. But right now, would I love a cameo to have Paul McCartney just walk out with a guitar and say, "Look at me"? That would be cool.
That would be cool. Be like, that's Paul McCartney.
It's Paul. Like, check that guy out. He looks look at that Paul McCartney tribute. He looks just like him. That'd be him. And it's possible. I'm not saying it's possible by us, but that's the kind of stuff he does. He'll start. You see videos of him just singing at a piano bar. Just having to walk in. I mean, how cool is that? You got a piano bar. Paul McCartney walks in, Yeah. So that's to answer your question. Those are my Pavarotti and McCartney, I think.
I like that. That would be really cool. Okay. Now, what is your favorite food, movie, TV show, and band/artist?
Wow. So, I've got so many favorite foods. I'm in the culinary world, so it depends what mood I'm in. I can tell you one thing. I simply adore a great hot dog. I can tell you that. I really do. Honest to God, that is such a Chicago growing up thing for me. I mean, I just, I love that. That being said, do I love Vesuvios and risottos and all kinds of that? Absolutely. I mean, you know what? It's hard to say because I've learned when I'm in the culinary field, and you talk to people a lot I talk to people about this a lot, and you'd be surprised how many people really don't understand like flavor and the tasting of food, the tasting of wine, to really taste the food. And between taste and texture, if you really spend time on that, you find greatness in a really good burger. You find greatness in a really great hot dog. You find greatness in a great piece of lasagna. I mean, so for me, I don't know about it's not so much about favorite food because I got some things I'm not a game guy. I don't like liver, lamb. I'm not a big curry guy. But aside from those things, I love multi-ethnic, multicultural culinary experiences. For me, the favorite food is the one that I'm able to sit down and really enjoy. That becomes my favorite, as opposed to just, hey, I got a meeting, in 3 minutes, just kind of shove it down.
Yeah.
And what was the other one? Favorite? What else?
A favorite movie, TV show, and band/artist.
All right, my favorite movie is probably A Bronx Tale with my good friend and Chaz Palminteri. A lot of people, being in the Italian American community, we're very careful about stereotypical references, mob movies, that kind of thing. And if you talk to certain people who are not as much in the know as they'd like to think they are, Bronx Tale really isn't a mob movie. Sure, there's a presence there, but when you talk to Chaz about it, because I said, Chaz, we're Italian Americans, very proud in our community, and there are a lot of people in our community that are against the concept of perpetuating stereotypes, The Sopranos, Godfather, Casino, Goodfellas, and how do you think that this is a question I asked him. How do you think that your movie falls into that realm of conversation? He said, we're not a mob movie. Look at them. It's all about messaging. Ironically, the message of the movie is crime doesn't pay. This isn't for you. Don't do that. What's a big message that you get out of it? The saddest thing in life is wasted talent. That's a big message of the movie. The fact that the life of mobsters were losers' lives. Don't do that. I mean, if you look at it and if you really Google it, have you ever seen A Bronx Tale?
I've seen it. My parents showed me that movie before.
So again, Chaz is an extremely close friend. I've been to his house. He's been to mine. He's flown in. He came to my daughter's two-year-old birthday party. When I opened up one of my restaurants, he flew in as a surprise just to come to my grand opening. I mean, we're very, very close, and we talk a lot about it. And anyway, there's a lot of messaging in that movie if you really stop and listen. Favorite movie. I don't know why I can't remember this. My favorite. What else? I've got food movie down. Favorite TV show. Yes. Oh yeah. Well, I like a lot of the Food Network stuff, like Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives by Guy Fieri, of course, and I watch that a lot because it's soothing for me. But I guess my favorite TV show. I like comedies that take me away from my world, because even when I'm watching TV, I'm working. I'm watching, right now, Stanley Tucci's Discovering Italy, I think it's called, something like that. It's wonderful because everywhere he's been, I've been, and I've walked those streets, and what he's talking about, I've lived that, and I see it like, oh yeah, and it just brings me back. I adore that right now. Um, Modern Family, I gotta say, is the funniest thing. I just Every one of those characters for me could have their own show. I just love it. So, like I said, there's a few things when I try to get away. I'll do a Curb Your Enthusiasm, some of the old stuff, I'm a big documentary fan. I love. Lately, I've been watching the one by Ken Burns on jazz, Roaring Twenties and jazz. Great show. Great, documentary. So yeah, I mean, I just, a lot of cooking shows, but when I'm watching cooking shows, I'm working, I'm thinking to myself, oh man, what a great idea for a sauce, or what a great application of cheese or whatever, So, but Modern Family takes me away, and that's what I need. Even when I watch Stanley Tucci's thing, I put on Italian festivals, as you know, and I put on, Italian experiences. So for me, watching him walking through the streets of Milan, Sicily, the Amalfi Coast, I'm thinking, wait a second, that's a cool thing I could do at the festival, or I could put a fountain up there, or that, I'm working.
Yeah.
But you watch a show like Modern Family, it all goes away, and just watching a bunch of, people who are just plain funny. And that's a long answer to a freaking short question. What's the other thing you want me to know? You want to know?
Favorite band / artist?
Well, growing up, my favorite band was Chicago.
Okay.
The band Chicago. I just love all that stuff. 70s for me is really big. 70s R&B I love. I love just all that kind of stuff. The Commodores and like real the Reverend Al Green and Gladys Knight and the Pips. Oh my God, that was all. I just love that stuff. I could do a mean "Let's Stay Together," as long as nobody's listening. But I could sing that pretty well. But yeah, I mean, I guess Chicago is probably the band that I would, I love just, but there's so many, the thing is, being in the business that I'm in, Joe, and I get to know these bands for years and years and years. I get to know them as people, I mean, they're friends now. I've been doing it for so long. And when you're backstage, or when you know their story, and or where a song came from, that really endears you to their craft, to their songs, their experience. So typically a song that you hear on the radio, it may not be, it's a cool song, it's okay, but it's not one of my favorites. But if you know that he wrote that song as he was going through drug addiction, and his friend died because of it, because of drug addiction, he wrote it because of him, and just all this stuff, that song becomes amazing. So that's why it's hard for me to say that, because I've got so many experiences of bands that I probably would never even bought a record. But now, as I know them, I know what they're all about. Like, you're one of my favorite bands just because I'm a huge fan of what you've come to be. Like Eddie Money, for example, Take Me Home Tonight, Two Tickets to Paradise, all these great pop songs, and a great guy, great band and everything. I don't know that would have been my favorite songs, but I got to know Eddie Money so well. And the fact that I know what he went through, and the fact that he's gone now, is like, those songs mean so much more. So another long answer here.
That happens to me too. Like, believe it or not, like I've interviewed like musicians as well. And like whenever I like hear their stories, it makes me like the song and them even more, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It adds a lot to it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like I've interviewed, do you know Joe B. Nesposito? Do you know who he is?
I don't think so. I should, with a name like that.
He sings "You're the Best." Like, you're the best. I can't sing, but you're the best.
No, you got to sing. I want to hear it. You're the best. They're the best. You're the best. It's something like that. Probably not.
It's like, have you seen the Karate Kid movie, the first one?
Oh yeah.
Machio. Like, you're the best.
Friend, actually.
Around, nothing's gonna ever keep you down. I can't. But
okay, let me tell you something. You ever, you can open, my friend. You can open for somebody. You got a voice. You got a gift, you. But yeah, I do know the song you're talking about. And he recorded it, that guy?
He actually, believe it or not, on the podcast, sang it on the podcast. Wow.
Well, thank God he did and you didn't, because I got to say, journalism is where you got to go, brother.
Thank you. And I've also interviewed, do you know Greg D'Angelo?
A couple of them. So which one are you talking about?
The drummer.
Which band?
He was in White Lion.
Oh, White
And
Lion. Absolutely. 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 So how'd you get a hold of these guys?
well, Greg D'Angelo DM'd him. Do you want to be a
Right?
guest on the podcast? Sure.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I'm really proud of what you're doing, Joe. You're doing a great job.
Thank you very much. I like to like interview people. Like for example, movies. When I mention movies, I've interviewed. Do you know who Claudia Wells is? Do you know who
No,
that
I
is? She
should.
was she was Jennifer in Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah. Who didn't have a crush on her?
Yeah.
Absolutely. She didn't. She
Yeah.
looked kind of weird as with her old lady makeup on, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like you should see it. It'd be like, oh my god, Joe's actually interviewed this guy, this girl. Like, oh my god, I know
I'm
them.
gonna look at all your stuff. Absolutely.
I think you'd be like, holy smokes, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, is there anything you like to promote and shout out that I can link down below in the video's description? Or
You know what? We just go to oshows.com. That's the letter O shows.com. We got a lot of stuff going on, and I want to invite you to come over and we'll give you a tour and check it out, all the backstage. You want to maybe interview some people? I'll hook you up. I mean, anything I can do to help you, Joe, we're here for you.
thank you, yeah, thank you so much. And
You're
is there
welcome.
any other questions before I do my outro? Do you have any questions?
Let's see here. I would love to know what your outro sounds like, so we can go right to that. But it's I got one more question for you. So let me ask you, who's your bucket list, your top 2, 3, 5 bucket list people that you want to get on your show? I mean, you nailed one today, so I know that. But I mean,
Yeah.
aside from that, who's someone that you would love to get on your show? Sammy Johnson.
Okay. Well, linking the name now, Brian May.
Oh,
Queen
sure.
guitarist.
Queen and
Yeah,
Kid.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then I like to interview actor-wise. Do you know who Topher Grace is?
No.
He was in That 70s Show. He was the main character,
Which
Eric.
one? Which one? Because I know what they look like.
He was Eric, the main character.
So Eric, is he the
Or
real smart guy, tall, thin, white guy?
yes, I was like
Oh
thinking
yeah.
yes.
So I saw him. I don't know his name, unfortunately, but he was in a movie that I really, really like. What the heck was it? This doesn't help you, but I just saw him in a movie. It was about old Hollywood. I mean, it was a movie, or no? You know what? It was a short series, like on HBO or something.
Hmm.
Um, really, really good. About the days of Warner Brothers when they first started, like in the 30s,
Oh,
40s, that kind of thing. And he did a great job. Like he was a real jerk in this movie, and but he played it really, really well. So yeah, I'm a fan of his. I didn't know his name actually, but I'm a fan of his.
I'd like to interview him one day. 'Cause I think he's very talented. Like I like him in this movie called Take Me Home Tonight. I don't know if you ever seen that movie.
No, I haven't.
It's like
But
a
that's a Eddie Money song. Just thought I'd throw it out there.
yeah, that's a good song. I actually like that song. Not gonna
Mhm.
lie. It's like a good 80s like nostalgia movie, like a lot of 80s music references because that's like my favorite decade. If I had to choose like a favorite decade.
So last night, again, I was channel surfing. I don't know what time it was. And did you ever see a Breakfast Club?
Oh come on, that's a classic with Judd
I,
Nelson and Molly Ringwald.
It was fabulous, and I forgot. I haven't seen it probably since it came out, and
Mhm.
I forgot just how good it was, and how I have a 16-year-old daughter, and that's about I guess about the age that they were representing themselves in a movie or so, and man, it's like a lot of that is real. That whole
Mhm.
I chimed in at the scene where they're sitting on the floor. It looked like a library or a school or something. They're all getting really mean on each other and crying, and it's just a really amazing bit of acting. And I got to be friendly with Molly Ringwald later in life. She became a jazz artist, so we had her at our theater a couple times doing her jazz show.
Wow.
Really nice lady, and you look at her, she's got that Molly Ringwald face. I mean, there's no doubt
Yeah.
who that is. Some people grow and they get changed. That's him. Like Judd
Sure.
Nelson, you wouldn't recognize right now. Emilio Estevez, kind of. They all, but Molly, it's freaking her. It's Molly Ringwald. She's
Yeah.
tall as heck.
Wow. It's cool. Like
Yeah.
I also saw Emilio Estevez. He's making the new Mighty Duck show. Have you seen that come out?
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I know I saw a promo on it and some TMZ thing or something. And yeah, I mean, I wish they could come up with some other great things. I mean, Mighty Ducks would be good, but
Yeah.
these are actors that should be doing great things. And Mighty Duck, as good as Mighty Duck's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be. Oh my God, did you see that Mighty Ducks movie? I don't know if that's going to be something. you know. But we wish him the best, of course.
Just like he's making. I don't know if you heard. Have you ever seen the Young Guns movies he made or
Yeah,
Young?
oh, yeah, those are good.
He's making a third one.
Yeah, and that's you got to think about it. Like, hey, I mean, we can keep doing that, or let's do something else. But you know what? They're all the point in their career. They got to pay the bills. Especially this COVID thing. I mean, they're like, okay, let's just you got people wants to throw money at them. I'll give you $1 million to do Mighty Ducks, 12. Okay, I'll do it. Why not at this point?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other closing remarks before I do
Just,
that?
Again, wish you the best. We're proud of you. Keep going. We're always here for you. Need anything, and just don't ever take no for an answer, unless I say no, of course. And just keep going, man. Don't let anything get in your way of your dreams. That's all I can tell you.
Thank you. Well, I thank you all so much for watching and listening. Thank you again, Ron, for being an awesome and amazing guest.
Thank you, brother. All the best. And say hi to your mom.
Will do. Have a great day, everybody, and stay awesome. And stay awesome, Ron, and God bless.